The stars stretched endlessly over the quiet human colony, their pale light reflecting off the metal structures of the observation outpost. It was a calm night, the kind that made the small team feel like they were the only beings in the universe. Commander Rayner walked along the narrow walkway, his boots echoing softly against the steel floor. He had always loved these moments when everything felt so peaceful and quiet. But tonight, that peace was about to break. The sensors in the outer sector had picked up unusual energy readings near the edge of the explored territory. At first, it seemed like nothing more than a glitch, a random cosmic anomaly. But as the readings persisted, becoming stronger and more complex, Rayner knew he had to investigate. He gathered a small team: Lieutenant Mara, the communications officer, Sergeant Kellen, the engineer, and Dr. Aaron, the colony's biologist. Together, they boarded the small exploration shuttle, the engines humming softly as they rose above the colony and into the darkness of space. The journey was tense but quiet. None of them spoke much, each lost in thought. Rayner stared out the viewport, watching the stars glide past as the shuttle moved further from the familiar territories. After a while, the energy readings became clearer, pinpointing a location in a barren asteroid field. The place looked dead from afar, a cluster of gray rocks floating in the void, but the instruments showed signs of something unusual, something artificial. When they approached the largest asteroid, the shape of a ship became visible, half buried and twisted in the rock. Its design was unlike anything they had ever seen: sleek curves, a pale metal that shimmered faintly under the starlight. The ship seemed damaged, and its hull was scarred as though it had been attacked. Mara leaned closer to the controls, her fingers dancing over the touchpad. "It's definitely not human," she whispered, awe and fear in her voice. Rayner nodded, his hand resting on the side of the shuttle. "Prepare for docking. We don't know what's inside and we need to be careful." The team suited up, strapping on helmets and life support systems. They moved cautiously, stepping onto the jagged surface of the asteroid. The silence of space pressed in on them, broken only by the faint hum of their suits and the occasional crack of shifting rock under their boots. When they reached the ship, they found a small entry hatch damaged but still functional. Kellen worked quickly, prying it open and ensuring the airlock didn't breach. The hatch creaked as it opened, revealing a dimly lit interior, twisted and scarred by impact. The smell of alien metal and something unfamiliar filled their noses. It was then that they saw them. In the shadows of the hallway, a figure crouched, trembling. It was a mother, her arms wrapped tightly around a small, delicate creature, a child. Both were pale, with large luminous eyes that seemed to reflect every flicker of light. Their bodies were thin, fragile-looking, and they shook as they peered at the humans. The mother's voice came out as a quiet, trembling sound, almost like a whisper. "Please help us. We don't want them." She clutched the little girl closer, who whimpered softly, her eyes wide with fear. Rayner took a careful step forward, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. "We're not going to hurt you," he said gently, his voice calm but firm. "Can you understand me?" The mother's eyes widened, and she nodded shakily. Mara quickly activated the universal translator, a device that could attempt to bridge language barriers using patterns and vocal modulation. A few seconds later, the machine emitted a soft, mechanical voice echoing the mother's words. "We need help. Please save us." Dr. Aaron knelt beside the pair, studying them with fascination and concern. "They're intelligent, definitely sentient, and they're terrified. Whatever happened here, it wasn't an accident." The humans quickly assessed the situation. The aliens appeared injured but not dangerously so. The mother had a shallow cut along her arm, and the little girl had a bruise on her side. They needed medical attention, warmth, and safety. Rayner made the decision. "We're bringing them back to the shuttle, gently, no sudden movements. Kellen, help me guide them." It took patience and careful coaxing, but eventually the mother allowed them to lift her and her child. They walked slowly back to the shuttle, the aliens trembling at every sound. Once inside, they were placed in a small medical bay, surrounded by soft light and warmth. Doctor. Aaron worked quickly, applying antiseptic to the mother's wound and examining the child. Neither spoke much, though the mother clung to her daughter, whispering comforting sounds that humans couldn't fully understand. Hours passed in tense silence. The shuttle hummed through the void, carrying them away from the wrecked ship. The mother and daughter remained huddled together, still wary but slowly relaxing as they felt the safety of the shuttle. Mara monitored the sensors, making sure the damaged ship or any potential threats didn't follow. Raynor stood by the viewport thinking. He had dealt with emergencies before, but nothing like this. The presence of these aliens, so vulnerable and innocent, stirred something deep in him, a sense of responsibility, of duty beyond mere exploration. Humanity was often seen as small, weak, and inexperienced in the vastness of space. But in this moment, they had the chance to show what humans were capable of: compassion, courage, and ingenuity. As they approached the human colony, alarms suddenly went off on the shuttle. Mara's fingers flew over the console, her face pale. Commander, sensors are picking up multiple fast-moving ships. They're approaching the asteroid field we just left. Raynor's heart sank. They followed us, the ones who attacked your ship, he muttered, addressing the mother through the translator. She nodded frantically, clutching her daughter. Yes, they want the child. Panic threatened to take hold, but Raynor forced himself to focus. Mara, evasive maneuvers. Kellen, prepare shields. We can't let them catch us, not now. The shuttle shuddered as Kellen activated the shields, a faint blue glow surrounding the vessel. Mara pushed the engines to full power, weaving through the asteroid debris with precision. The mother's trembling grew more intense. She pressed her child tightly to her chest, whispering words of reassurance, though her fear was palpable. Raynor approached them, kneeling to meet their eyes. "You're safe with us," he said firmly. "We will protect you. We don't leave anyone behind." The little girl finally peeked out from her mother's embrace, her luminous eyes wide but curious. There was a spark of hope there, fragile but real. Raynor smiled gently, feeling a weight lift off his shoulders. This small act of trust, of connection across worlds, was a reminder of why humanity explored the stars. Not for conquest, not for greed, but for understanding, for compassion, for the chance to make a difference. The pursuit continued through the night, a dangerous dance among asteroids and floating debris. The humans worked as a team, using every trick they knew to stay ahead. The mother and daughter huddled together, their trust in humans growing with every careful maneuver. They did not yet know the full scope of the threat that followed them, but for the first time in what felt like an eternity, they felt hope. Hours later, the distant lights of the colony appeared on the horizon. Raynor felt a surge of relief. They had survived the initial danger, but this was only the beginning. Whatever force had attacked the mother and daughter was intelligent, ruthless, and determined. Humans would have to fight, plan, and protect these aliens if they hoped to survive. And yet, even in the face of such fear and uncertainty, a small flame of connection and courage burned brightly. In that quiet moment, the mother finally spoke directly to Raynor through the translator. "Thank you for helping us. We were alone, no one else would." Her words trailed off and she clutched her daughter again. Raynor nodded solemnly. "You're not alone anymore. We will keep you safe. That's a promise." As the shuttle approached the colony, lights blinking and welcoming, the humans prepared for the unknown challenges ahead. They had rescued the frightened pair, but the greater test had yet to come. Still, in this moment, humanity had shown what it could do, standing as guardians, as protectors, as a force of hope in the vast, dark expanse of space. And for the mother and her little daughter, trembling and crying, the simple presence of humans brought a small, fragile warmth into a universe that had seemed utterly hostile. The shuttle had barely touched the landing pad when the colony's alert systems flared to life. Lights blinked and sirens echoed through the corridors, warning of an incoming threat. Commander Raynor guided the mother and her daughter carefully, keeping them close, and led them through the reinforced gates. The humans and the aliens were no longer alone, but the danger they had fled was still very real, drawing closer with every passing second. Inside the colony, people moved quickly to their stations, faces tense. Mara coordinated with the defense systems, redirecting energy to shields and monitoring incoming signals. Kellen ran checks on the colony's defense turrets, ensuring that every weapon was operational. Dr. Aaron stayed near the mother and child, offering comfort and medical attention while simultaneously gathering information about their biology. The aliens were fragile, but they were also remarkable, with an energy signature unlike anything humans had studied before. Raynor led the mother and her daughter to a secure area, a small, enclosed sector of the colony that could be locked down in case of emergency. The mother's trembling continued, but she had begun to trust the humans' intentions. She hugged her child tightly, whispering soft sounds that humans could not understand, yet the tone was one of reassurance and love. For the little girl, the human presence was both frightening and fascinating. Her large eyes roamed the room, taking in every detail: the lights, the soft hum of machinery, the gentle movements of humans around her. The calm did not last long. From the edge of the colony's sensor range, a fleet of alien ships appeared, sleek and dark, moving with precision and speed. Their intent was clear. They were coming for the mother and her child. Raynor's jaw tightened. He had expected this possibility, but seeing it confirmed made the danger immediate and personal. "They're fast," Mara said, eyes glued to the screens. "Too fast to outrun them in open space." Raynor's mind raced. Evading was no longer enough. They had to think differently, use the colony itself as a weapon and a shield. He turned to Kellen. "Prepare the outer turrets. Set traps along the asteroid approaches. We can't just wait for them to attack us head-on. We need to make them underestimate us." Kellen nodded, his hands moving over the controls like a concert pianist. He activated the automated turrets, setting them to engage any hostile ships automatically. Then he initiated a sequence that would release decoys and energy pulses to confuse enemy sensors. Mara coordinated the communications, sending false signals to the incoming fleet, masking the true positions of the shuttle and the colony's defenders. The mother and daughter watched, curiosity and fear mingling on their faces. "Doctor." Aaron explained gently through the translator what the humans were doing. "They are making sure you are safe," she said. The mother nodded, her grip on her child tightening, and whispered again in her native language. The little girl reached out tentatively, touching the human hand extended toward her. It was a small gesture, but one that symbolized a growing bond across worlds. As the enemy ships drew closer, Raynor gave the order to prepare the colony's emergency defenses. Energy barriers shimmered to life around key sections, and drones armed with pulse emitters hovered in the corridors. The humans had learned to improvise and innovate, even under pressure. This was their advantage, their creativity, adaptability, and determination. They were not the largest force in the galaxy, but their resourcefulness could turn the tide. The first wave of attackers arrived, sleek and dark vessels that fired plasma beams toward the colony. The shields held, absorbing the impact, and Kellen's traps detonated in a series of blinding flashes. Enemy sensors were thrown into chaos as decoys and pulses made it impossible to distinguish real targets. Raynor's team moved swiftly, directing defenses and coordinating human ingenuity with technology that even the alien fleet had difficulty countering. Amid the chaos, the mother began to speak through the translator, her voice urgent and low. "They want the child she carries something important," Raynor frowned. "Important in what way?" she asked, though the translator could not provide full detail. The mother's eyes glistened. I cannot explain fully, but her life is key for my people if they take her. She pressed her daughter to her chest. The child whimpered softly, sensing the weight of her mother's fear. Raynor understood immediately. Protecting this child was no longer just a matter of mercy. It was a responsibility that could have consequences far beyond the colony. He glanced at Mara and Kellen. We have to keep them safe at all costs. Find a way to use the colony itself to slow them down. Every asteroid, every debris field, make it work for us, not against us. The humans moved like a well-oiled machine. Automated drones deployed to the outer rim, creating a barrier of false targets and energy fields. Kellen rigged sections of the colony's perimeter to release clouds of reflective material, bouncing enemy sensors and causing confusion. Mara hacked into the communications network of the enemy ships, broadcasting misleading signals that made the attackers believe they were being surrounded. Each move was small on its own, but together they created a maze of strategy that even the faster and stronger alien fleet could not easily penetrate. Meanwhile, the mother and child stayed in the secure section of the colony, observing the humans' ingenuity with cautious fascination. The little girl's fear began to fade slightly, replaced with curiosity. She watched the lights, the controls, the coordinated movements, as if trying to understand how these creatures could act with such precision and courage. It was clear to Raynor that even in her fear, she recognized the determination and cleverness that humans possessed. Hours passed in a tense standoff. The enemy ships probed, testing defenses, firing plasma beams that were absorbed by shields or deflected by automated turrets. Every attack was met with a human counter, an improvisation that kept the enemy guessing. Raynor felt a surge of pride. This was humanity in its finest hour, small, vulnerable, but brilliant in thought and action. They had turned a defensive position into a complex puzzle that the attackers struggled to solve. Then came a breakthrough. Mara discovered a pattern in the enemy fleet's movements, a brief opening between their formations, a chance to strike directly at the command ship. Raynor made a decision. We take that opening. Kellen, ready the pulse drones for a focused strike. Mara, guide them through the debris corridor. This is our chance to end the chase. The plan was risky, but it relied on what humans did best, thinking creatively, taking bold action, and acting together. The pulse drones moved silently, weaving through the asteroid field, and the humans directed them with precision. Energy pulses struck the command ship, temporarily disabling its shields and systems. The fleet faltered, momentarily thrown into disarray. Raynor's team seized the moment, activating additional traps and energy pulses that made it impossible for the attackers to regroup quickly. Inside the secure sector, the mother hugged her daughter tightly. "They humans, they fight, they protect us," she whispered through the translator. The little girl nodded, her luminous eyes wide, reflecting the flickering lights from outside. For the first time since the crash, there was a small glimmer of hope. The battle raged for hours, but gradually, the humans' cleverness began to dominate. The alien fleet, despite its speed and advanced technology, could not adapt to the constantly changing traps, false signals, and precise strikes. One by one, their ships were forced to retreat or were disabled, leaving the command ship isolated. Raynor knew it was only a matter of time before they had to make a final move. Finally, the command ship attempted a desperate maneuver to escape through the asteroid field. Raynor gave the order to focus every remaining pulse drone and turret fire on it. The energy pulses struck with precision, disabling the engines and causing the ship to drift helplessly. The humans had won, not through brute force, but through strategy, creativity, and teamwork. As the dust settled and the remaining enemy ships fled, the mother and child finally emerged from their secure sector. The mother's trembling had slowed, replaced with cautious relief. She looked around at the humans, awe and gratitude in her eyes. "You saved us. "We thought we would not survive," she said softly. Her daughter clung to her, whispering a sound that humans could not understand, but the tone was one of trust and recognition. Raynor knelt before them, his expression calm but determined. "You are safe now. We will keep you safe. That is what humans do. We protect those who cannot protect themselves." The mother nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. The little girl reached out and touched Raynor's hand, a gesture of connection that transcended species. "Doctor." Aaron examined them carefully. "They're resilient," she said, "but we need to understand more about the child. Her biology, her abilities, whatever the attackers wanted from her, could be important to more than just her species." Raynor agreed, knowing that the coming days would be full of questions, exploration, and preparation. The mother's gratitude, however, reminded them that humanity's greatest strength was not only in technology or weapons, but in compassion, ingenuity, and courage. The colony returned to its normal rhythm, but everyone knew it would never be the same. The humans had faced a superior force and survived through skill, creativity, and determination. They had protected two lives that were not their own, proving that even in a vast, dangerous universe, humanity could shine. That night, as the mother and daughter slept safely under human care, Raynor walked along the colony's walkway once more, staring at the endless stars. He thought of the battles, the fear, and the ingenuity that had saved them. Humanity was small in the universe, yes, but it had a spark that could not be measured by size or strength. It was their courage, their compassion, and their ability to adapt and innovate that made them remarkable. And for the mother and her little daughter, trembling and crying when they first begged for help, humans had become a symbol of hope, a proof that even in the darkest corners of the galaxy, life could find protection and courage could triumph against overwhelming odds. The colony had returned to a fragile calm, but the memory of the battle lingered in every corridor. Commander Raynor stood at the observation deck, looking out over the asteroid field where the enemy fleet had retreated. Though most of their attackers had fled, one vessel remained unaccounted for, the command ship that had tried to escape during the last engagement. It drifted silently among the rocks, damaged but functional, a threat that could return at any moment. Raynor turned to Mara, Kellen, and Dr. Aaron. "They're still out there. We can't let them regroup and come back for the child. We have to end this now." The team nodded, knowing that the next move would require all their ingenuity, courage, and teamwork. The mother and her daughter remained in the secure sector, resting but alert. The little girl had grown more confident, exploring the soft lights and warm spaces of the human colony, though she still clung to her mother's side. The mother's gratitude was clear in her eyes, but she also knew that their safety was temporary unless humans could neutralize the lingering threat. Raynor called a council in the central command room. Maps of the asteroid field and enemy positions flickered on the screens. "We need to strike intelligently," he said. "Direct assault could cost us lives, but the enemy relies on speed and technology. They think they're smarter than us. That's where we have the advantage. Humans can improvise." Kellen leaned over the table, pointing to clusters of asteroids near the enemy ship's location. "If we create a false path, a series of decoys and energy traps, we can lure them into a narrow corridor where our drones and turrets will have the upper hand." "It's risky, but it works if we time it right," Mara nodded. "I can manipulate their sensors. We broadcast multiple fake signals, multiple shuttles, even fake energy signatures. They won't know which one is real. Once they take the bait, we hit with everything." Dr. Aaron added, "And we must be careful with the child. Whatever they want from her, it's not just about capturing her. They might harm her if cornered. We must keep her protected at all costs." The plan was set. Humans and aliens worked side by side, preparing the decoys, the drones, and the energy pulses. Raynor's voice carried calm determination as he guided them. "We're small but clever. We can beat them without needing to be stronger. That's what humans do. As night fell over the colony, the enemy command ship reappeared, moving cautiously toward the area where the decoys had been set. Its sensors picked up false signals, the glowing energy pulses of traps, and the shifting asteroid shadows. The attackers hesitated, unsure which path would lead to success and which would lead to disaster. Raynor's team held their breath as the ship followed the bait, entering the narrow corridor between massive asteroids. Kellen's pulse drones hovered silently, ready to strike. Mara adjusted the sensor manipulation, ensuring the enemy remained uncertain about the real targets. The humans had turned the terrain to their advantage, using the natural chaos of the asteroid field as a weapon. The mother held her daughter close, whispering soothing sounds. "Humans, they fight for us. They are brave," she said softly, her voice trembling but strong with trust. The little girl pressed against her, sensing the determination of her protectors and the safety of the colony. Suddenly, the command ship fired a warning shot, a burst of plasma that illuminated the corridor. Kellen's drones responded instantly, emitting focused energy pulses that disabled the ship's engines temporarily. The vessel lurched, struggling to stabilize among the asteroids. Mara's manipulation of their sensors caused the ship to miscalculate its navigation, steering it closer to the center of the trap. Raynor gave the order to engage the automated turrets. They fired precise bursts, striking the command ship's hull and disabling key systems. The enemy crew struggled to regain control, but the humans' traps had been timed perfectly. The ship drifted helplessly, caught between energy pulses and debris, unable to maneuver. Inside the secure sector, the mother's hands trembled as she held her child. They cannot reach us now," she whispered. The little girl looked up at Raynor through the translator screen, her eyes wide with awe. She seemed to understand, in her own way, that humans had used courage and intelligence to protect them. Raynor's voice was calm but firm. "This ends now. We give them no chance to recover." With a coordinated signal, Kellen activated the final stage of the trap. The asteroid field shifted slightly, using hidden gravitational anchors and controlled explosions to block any escape route for the enemy. The command ship was surrounded, its power systems failing, its movements restricted. The humans pressed their advantage. Pulse drones struck again, targeting the engines and weapon systems. The command ship fired back, but with precision hampered by the traps, it could do little damage. Mara adjusted the energy fields, creating a feedback loop that further disoriented the enemy. In less than an hour, the command ship was completely disabled, floating uselessly among the asteroids. Raynor exhaled, relief mixing with pride. "It's over. They cannot harm us or the child anymore." Kellen and Mara nodded, exhaustion visible on their faces, but a sense of triumph in their eyes. They had faced a superior enemy and won, not through brute force, but through strategy, creativity, and determination. The mother and her daughter stepped out of the secure sector, moving toward Raynor. Tears glistened in the mother's eyes as she spoke through the translator. "You humans, you saved our lives, our child. We cannot repay you." Her voice faltered and she hugged her daughter tightly. The little girl looked up, her luminous eyes shining, a quiet smile breaking through her fear for the first time. Raynor knelt to meet them, his expression calm and warm. "You don't need to repay us," he said. "We protect those who cannot protect themselves. That is what humans do." The mother nodded, understanding not just the words but the meaning behind them. She reached out and touched Raynor's hand, a gesture of gratitude and connection that needed no translation. Dr. Aaron examined the pair one last time, ensuring that both were unharmed after the ordeal. "Their biology is remarkable," she noted. "The child seems to carry something unique, something that others might covet. But for now, she is safe with us. We've shown that humans can protect and adapt when needed." As the colony celebrated their victory quietly, Raynor stood again at the observation deck, staring out at the stars. The battle was won, but the universe remained vast and full of unknown dangers. Yet in that moment, he felt the strength of humanity, not in size or weapons, but in courage, creativity, and the willingness to act when others might hesitate. Humans were small in the galaxy, yes, but they could shine brighter than anyone imagined. The mother and her daughter were integrated into the colony, given warmth, shelter, and care. The little girl explored cautiously, learning slowly from the humans around her, while her mother observed with cautious relief. They were safe for the first time since their ship had crashed, and their trust in humans was growing with every passing day. Raynor and his team began documenting everything they had learned from the encounter. Enemy strategies, the child's unique abilities, and the innovative defenses they had deployed would all become part of human knowledge. This experience would prepare them for future threats, reinforcing the idea that humans were capable not only of surviving in space, but of protecting others, building alliances, and thriving in the unknown. The colony returned to its routines, but with a newfound sense of purpose. Humans had faced fear, uncertainty, and a technologically superior enemy, and had emerged victorious. The bonds they formed with the mother and daughter were more than friendship. They were a testament to what humanity could accomplish when courage and empathy guided their actions. One evening, as Raynor walked along the quiet corridors of the colony, he watched the mother and her daughter playing near a small holographic garden. The little girl laughed softly, reaching out to touch the projections, her fear replaced with curiosity and joy. Her mother watched, smiling, knowing that humans had given them not just safety, but hope. Raynor knew that this was the true power of humanity. Not the weapons, not the ships, not the advanced technology. They were tools, yes, but the real strength lay in their minds, their hearts, and their willingness to act when it mattered most. They had proven that even small, inexperienced humans could protect, innovate, and triumph against overwhelming odds. As the stars shone above the colony, Raynor felt a quiet pride. Humanity had faced the darkness and shown what it could do. They had saved lives, forged bonds across worlds, and demonstrated that courage, creativity, and compassion were forces stronger than any weapon. For the mother and her little daughter, the days of trembling and crying had ended. They were safe, loved, and valued. And for humans, the victory was more than survival. It was a reminder that in the vast, dangerous universe, humanity could shine as a beacon of hope, ingenuity, and unwavering courage. Raynor looked at the stars once more and whispered softly to himself, "This is what humans do. This is who we are." And with that, the colony thrived, the mother and daughter secure, and humanity had proven that even in the darkest corners of space, hope, ingenuity, and courage could prevail.